Okay, I'm holding the lapel mic in my hand because I I'm like a dinosaur, and I feel like if I have this on my lapel, the sound quality is just not gonna be as good. But so I'm doing the Underhyped books book tag that Jessie the Reader created. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of what you have to look forward to in this video. So let's get to the first question. Okay, so the first question is an underhyped book you think deserves more love. And I talked about this book on my channel before. It's called Last Call of the Nightingale by Catherine Shellman. And it's 1920s, speakeasy, there's a murder, the main character gets wrapped up in it. She also is kind of like, there's kind of a love triangle going on where like she has two main love interests, and as the series goes on, I'm assuming we will figure out which one she ends up with. And she's bisexual. So one of the love interests is male and the other is female, which I love. That is such a perfect good use of the love triangle, because we've all seen the love triangle between there's two men pining for this one girl or whatever. But I feel like this is a, I don't want to say twist, but honestly, I love the vibe of it, because I feel like that's, like, I don't really love the love triangle trope, but because of the main character being bisexual, and there's two different genders to choose from with similar vibes, but like they're different in their own ways, of course. Like, they're not like identical people, just swap gender or something. Yeah, I think it's the perfect use of the love triangle trope, to like also still like make it very clear that she's bisexual and make sure people don't really forget about it, so it doesn't fly under the radar, which is, I feel like, is good, because a lot of times there's the like issue that bisexual people run into, where if they're with a man, people just see them as straight. And then if they're with a female, then people just see them as lesbian. And then if you do the love triangle thing, boom, now they can't forget. And I think that's beautiful. But also, like, if you go into this, like, it's definitely supposed to be a murder mystery, but you're not there for the murder mystery. You're there for the characters. Full stop. You're there for the characters. Like, the mystery, when that was all revealed, to me, it was just incidental. And just being with the characters, and going through the journey that they go throughout the novel, with them, was what kept me going. And I'm very excited for the second book. It comes out, I think it's in June, but yes, I will be reading that immediately. Okay, a criminally underrated author you think more people should read. I chose Mary H.K. Choi. I hope I'm pronouncing that all right. Ow. But it's been a while since I read her books, because she really hasn't published that much. But there was two that she published. One was Emergency Contact, and then the other was Permanent Record or something like that. And I absolutely loved these books. I loved them so much, and I was so pissed and like, I read these like years ago, and I've looked at hers recently, and it seems like she hasn't published that many more books. And none of... Okay, I don't know if that other clip exists. We're gonna pretend like it does, and then when I look back later, if it's not there, then I'll have to film this all over again. But yeah, so like, she seems to not have published that much, but like, her first two books I absolutely loved. They were great. They were little, like, cute little romance stories. I don't really remember Emergency Contact that much, because I read that one the furthest back. Permanent Record was really good. It was like a thing where like the guy falls for this girl who's like kind of famous or whatever, and then you kind of get like the trials and the issues that come with that, because obviously it's not a typical relationship, and there's a unique set of challenges there, especially with her traveling and stuff, and then her like popularity and stuff like that, and it just such a good, nice fluffy read, and I highly recommend. I think they were fluffy reads. I didn't actually look back at like the synopsis of any of these books before talking about them again, so if what I'm telling you isn't wholly accurate, I apologize in advance. Okay, so my next one is a book by a popular author you feel is underrated. And okay, so we all have heard of E. Lockhart's book, We Were Liars. And we've got some mixed reviews about that. I feel like a lot of people loved it, like back in like 2014 booktube era, and it came back in BookTok. But what people don't talk about is E. Lockhart's other books. And I read this way back in, it was either 2020 or 2021. It's been a while. And my favorite was, okay, so Genuine Fraud is really good because it's told backwards. So like you go backwards through time, and it was such a unique way to tell this story, and I absolutely loved it. All hail. And then Again and Again was a nice, cute, fluffy read, and they were such easy reads and just such a good time. And I highly recommend them. I wouldn't say I highly recommend them if you loved We Were Liars. I definitely loved We Were Liars, and I also love these books, but I don't think they have that much in common. However, chef's kiss. Also, after those 3 books, she doesn't have that much else going on either, and it kind of pisses me off, not gonna lie. Okay, so the next question is a book on your TBR that's underrated and you're excited to read. Okay, so I discovered this author like back in, I think it was April. It was included in one of my wrap-ups or whatever. It was called Breaking Character by Lee Winter, and that book, chef's kiss, one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. But there's another book that I don't know if it's released yet. I think this is the book that's supposed to come out in 2023, so I don't know if it's out yet, or maybe it is, and I'm thinking of a different book. But it's called The Fixer by Lee Winter, and oh my god, when I tell you, this book sounds amazing. So first of all, it's sapphic. Breaking Character was sapphic. This is also sapphic. All of the books this woman writes is sapphic. Let me bring up the summary because I want to do this justice. Okay, so I hate living in the city sometimes because it's so much traffic. But okay, so it's a naive activist is hired by a corporate villain but doesn't realize it. Cue one awkward farce, a twisty puzzle, and the slowest of slow burns, and its opposites attract, ice clean romance. And it keeps going. So basically, like, the main character is like an activist who's kind of naive, a little bit stupid. And she finds it a little weird that she's being employed by a mystery organization that's going to bring down the mayor, the corrupt mayor. But she's up for a challenge. But what she doesn't know is that the organization that's hiring her is an evil corporation. It's part of Lee Winter's The Villain. It's called The Villain series, and it's the first book in the series, and it just came out this year. I don't know if it's out yet, or if it's coming out later this year. I could look. I'm not going to. But yeah, and it sounds absolutely amazing. Like, I am so excited. I've never ever been so excited to read a book in my entire life, and I think everyone should read it. I think it's gonna be amazing. I think I'm gonna love every freaking minute of this. And everyone needs to know about her books. I read Breaking Character, and it had a similar opposites attract. One's sunshine character, one's, what's the word? I almost said gloomy, and I don't think that's the word. Oh, grumpy. Grumpy X Sunshine, and it's giving a similar vibe to this. And I think it's gonna be amazing. And I think everyone should read Lee Winter's books. Just full stop. Okay, so the next question is a character from a book you feel is underappreciated. I simply don't have an answer to this. I'm not super into fandom whatsoever, so I don't know. Like, I read books, I like characters. I don't know if they're underappreciated. I have no idea what anyone else's opinion is on any characters, so I'm gonna skip that question. So then, a book that deserves more love, that is a part of a trending genre. And I said, I don't know what's technically trending, but Jessie the Reader said romance was trending, so we're gonna go with that vibe. And what I got for you is Something to Talk About by Meryl Wilsner. This was such a good book. I read it a while ago, and it's basically a workplace romance where this girl is an assistant to this woman, and they fall in love, and it's amazing. The thing is, like, though, like, the woman that she is assisting is her boss, obviously, and so that comes with its own set of challenges. And hijinks ensue. It's a very cute little rom-com vibe, and I think if you like cute little rom-coms, you're gonna love this. It is sapphic. You probably got that vibe from it. But yeah, so I highly recommend. I think everyone should read it. It was such a good time. Really, just such a good time. Okay, and then the final question is recommend an underrated book based off a popular book. I struggled with this so hard, and I was like, everything is too, because I was seeing, I was like, oh, I feel like this book is underrated, and then I'd look, and then Goodreads would be like 16K ratings, and they're like, damn it, that's not underrated, that's very, very rated. But then earlier today, I was looking, I was like, okay, I think If We Were Villains was quite underrated, although I've seen like multiple people talk about it on BookTube, so I don't know what I was thinking. But then I put that into Goodreads, and it was like 100K ratings, and I was like, oh, that's pretty low, because I thought the ratings that I was seeing previously had to have been like 1 million then. But then I typed in like this book that I'm about to tell you, and it was like, no, it's just 16K. I went, oh, okay, so that's underrated. At least I would consider that underrated. If We Were Villains, a book I don't think, like, yeah, I've seen people talking about it on Book Talk and stuff, but I definitely, on like BookTube and stuff, but I definitely seen other books that are very much more well talked about than that. So I feel like that one's pretty not the most talked about, and so for that to be that high, then this book is definitely underrated in my opinion. And okay, so first of all, let's start with a book that I think that is like really like hyped, and the book I would go for that is Percy Jackson, not the Olympians, because those are like 12 years old, more so the Lost Hero series. Wait, what's it called? Heroes of Olympus. Yeah, that series, because I was like super hyped up and stuff back in the day, and I think if you like that, then you will, and you want some like nostalgia for that kind of vibe in literature, what am I? I'm talking about young adult books here. But if you like the like fantasy vibe of that, and just like the character dynamics and stuff like that, I feel like you would love A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. And I think you would also love the sequel to that. It's a duology, A Psalm of Storms and Silence. Is it, like, they're both fantasy, they're both young adult. I feel like this one pushes the envelope more. I feel like Percy Jackson, The Lost Heroes, did well for its time. And I feel like pushed the envelope as far as would be expected for the time. I also feel like the kind of vibe for this, especially in the sequel, is if you were really into, I wasn't, but if you were really into the Dark Percy fanfics on Wattpad back in the day, I think you would love this series, because it kind of does that, in the least spoilery way possible. It kind of goes that route a little bit, for a little while, and I think, and like the character dynamics at certain points are very, like, especially in the second book, are very much so giving that vibe of like Heroes of Olympus, in terms of just like, yeah. But yeah, so if you like that, I think you should really, really check out A Song of Wraiths and Ruin and its sequel, A Psalm of Storms and Silence. So yeah. Okay, so that's all of the questions for today. You will see a wrap-up video in the very near future. I don't post on a schedule, I just post when I have content, which usually ends up being one wrap-up a month, but I saw Jessie the Reader do this, and I was like, finally, a book tag thing that's for me, because I feel like a lot of the book tags I just can't do. I want to, but I'm just like, I don't have content for this. But this I could do, so yeah. So you'll get a wrap up soon. I'll also be posting another video in June, with LGBT Rex, because it's Pride Month. Not quite yet, but it will be Pride Month, and when it is Pride Month, you will get that LGBT Rex video, because I've got a lot of Rex, and I feel like there's a lot of books that I have read, and that I want other people to read, that not a lot of people are talking about, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, if you want that content, definitely hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon, so you are notified every single time I post and you don't miss those wonderful recommendations.